I'm Barbara Batson, exhibitions coordinator at the Library of Virginia, and I'm also one of the co-curators of our current exhibition, We Demand Women's Suffrage in Virginia. My colleagues and I have created several small short videos to highlight some of the items that are in the exhibition while the library is closed during the public health emergency. Probably the most prominent items on display are these 4 banners preserved by the family of Sophie Gooding Rose Meredith. Now, why are the banners interesting? Well, there was a whole industry that produced banners and buttons and flags and sashes and hat ribbons and postcards, tea sets, even games. A whole host of items for suffrage advocates to use in parades and at street corners and at rallies. Hanging a Votes for Women banner or a suffrage map in the window of a local suffrage headquarters was a good way to advertise and to attract attention and potential members. Sophie Meredith was a founding member of the Equal Suffrage League of Virginia, established in 1909, and she later joined the more radical Congressional Union for Women's Suffrage, later the National Woman's Party. Meredith was typical of many suffragists. She was white, educated, married. Her husband Charles was a lawyer who supported her interest in education and health reform and better opportunities for women. In April 1915, she spoke in favor of adding 2 positions for policewomen in the Richmond police force. That's your trivia for the day. In March 1913, she and other Equal Suffrage League members marched in the National Suffrage Parade in Washington, D.C., organized by Alice Paul. In this photograph, Meredith and her comrades are at Capitol Square, and you can see that they're wearing their Votes for Women sashes and displaying their Equal Suffrage League banners, none of which survive, alas. On May 1st, 1915, Meredith was on the speaker's platform at a massive suffrage rally held at the state capitol. The Richmond Times-Dispatch reported that, quote, floating suffrage banners, fluttering yellow ribbons, silver-toned bugles, and a brass band proclaimed the fact that yesterday was Equal Suffrage Day in Richmond, as well as in every other town and city of the United States. Throughout the morning, 40 women at 11 stations around the city sold copies of the Woman's Journal and suffrage flags, buttons, and postcards. Local officials refused to issue a license or a permit for the suffragists to speak from the street corners, so they decorated their cars with their banners and their ribbons, and they spoke from their cars. Look in the upper left corner of the photograph of the rally. That Votes for Women banner that you see may very well be the one that we have on display in the exhibition. About 6 weeks after the rally, Sophie Meredith led a group of suffragists in a break from the Equal Suffrage League to form the Virginia branch of the Congressional Union for Women's Suffrage. Founded by Alice Paul, the Congressional Union sought an amendment to the federal Constitution. In August of that year, the women from Richmond drove to the home of Congressman Hal D. Flood to convince him to support what was then called the Susan B. Anthony Amendment. The Richmond Times-Dispatch reported that, quote, a banner bearing the words, "We demand the passage of an amendment to the United States Constitution," was held aloft as the suffragists motored from the town in several automobiles, and the streamer was displayed prominently on the veranda of the congressman's home. In October 1916, the women of the Virginia branch of the Congressional Union for Women's Suffrage manned a booth at the Virginia State Fair, where they distributed 30,000 leaflets, many of which were probably dropped by Catherine Stinson, a 19-year-old aviatrix who performed at the fair. Meredith declared that the booth was the prettiest suffrage booth ever, and in the photograph you see 2 banners that we have in the exhibition. Meredith joined other suffragists in picketing the White House beginning in January 1917, an act that the Equal Suffrage League condemned. She was arrested in 1918 for demonstrating at Lafayette Park across from the White House, although she paid her fine at the urging of her family. Well, she was in her mid-60s. The women who picketed the White House held aloft their purple, gold, and white banners as they stood around the White House fence in all kinds of weather. With ratification in 1920, Meredith continued to support efforts to convince Congress to enact an Equal Rights Amendment to guarantee equality of rights for all Americans. She died at her Richmond home in 1928. Her family preserved the banners used by the Virginia branch of the Congressional Union for Women's Suffrage, as well as the minutes of the meetings that were held between 1915 and 1920, and those minutes are now in the collection of the library. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope that you'll come visit the library and the exhibition when we reopen later this summer. In the meantime, for more information, please visit our website at www.edu.lva.virginia.gov/wedemand.